Welcome once again to the Sports Skillet Radio Show. We want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. Reminder, you can catch us on our social media channels. You can also head over to sportsskilletradio.com for our latest sports news, show updates. We've got the live Twitter feed, so you get all kinds of different sports news that are going on throughout the world of sports. Got great articles by Mike Nebbia as well. So you want to head over there to sportsskilletradio.com and check out everything we got going over there. You want to check out the heat ratio as well. They got lots of great shows, fantasy stuff, fire and ice, hockey show that we got there as well. So we want to thank the heat ratio for hosting us as well. So check out Sports Skillet Radio. Just do a search for Sports Skillet, and we will pop up on our social media channels. You can check out the heat ratio, as I said. Great shows there as well. And we are joined today. I am Jay. I got Mike. I've got Jeff. And we are pleased, as always, to have the coach, Shane McGowan, joining us as well this week. And Shane, can you let everybody know how they can find you on your social media channels?
Yeah, you can reach me at mentaledgeperformance.ca as well as mental_edge_performance. Gentlemen, how are we doing this weekend?
We are fired up. As always, big NFL Sunday. We kicked it off on Thursday with some NFL games. We've got some breaking Mets news as well. We'll get into with Mike, so stay tuned.
I think you can see the look on my face when you said breaking Mets news.
Oh, yes. So do you want to start? I will leave it up to you guys. Do you guys want to start off with the a little MLB, Jeff, or you want to start off with the NFL?
Well, let's start off with the NFL.
All right, let's go to the NFL. Well, we kicked it off on Thanksgiving. And by the way, we hope everyone's enjoying a very happy, healthy, blessed, and safe Thanksgiving weekend. We kicked things off on Thursday. We had the Detroit Lions taking on the Chicago Bears from Ford Field in Detroit. And then we moved on to the Dallas Cowboys taking on Shane's Las Vegas Raiders. And we wrapped things up on Thursday evening with the Bills taking on the New Orleans Saints. Let's start off with the Cowboys taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Shane, your Las Vegas Raiders got a win on Thanksgiving over the Cowboys.
They got a win. They got a win in Texas. I tell you, nothing sweeter than beating them damn Cowboys. So I'll tell you that much. That was a good turkey dinner. That's for sure. You know. But like I said, right down to the nail biter as an overtime would go and everything like that. And I mean, really, both teams played well. Dak played well, considering he didn't have his two starting receivers out there, you know what I mean, without CeeDee Lamb, who's in concussion protocol, as well as with Amari Cooper, who's in COVID protocol. So, like I said, overall, he did pretty well and things like that. Defense, I think Dallas is going to have a little bit of players coming back this week as well, next week into next week. So I think they're going to be a little bit okay when they move forward, which may not be good for Washington as well as the Phillies, Philadelphia there when they eventually play those guys in the division too, right? So it may not be perfect timing, but I think Dallas will be fine. And my Raiders finally pulled it off. They did what they had to do. They finally got themselves back on track a little bit, you know, and they stayed toe-to-toe with these guys, and it's hard to win. Look, it's hard to win in Dallas. There's no question about that. So I give them all the props in the world. Defense played really, really well. We did get banged up with Waller going down early too, but it also showed having Deshaun Jackson out there definitely paid dividends. So like I said, it's a great win for us, and I'm happy about that. But like I said, we got a few games coming up this weekend that are going to be a little exciting as well, especially out there in San Francisco.
We do. Jeff, what did you make of this Cowboys loss? Do you think the Cowboys could be in trouble for the division?
Well, absolutely. When you look at the Eagles' schedule, the Eagles obviously have nothing but division games outside of playing the JTS Jets. So the Eagles definitely have potential here. win a couple of games to see what we'll see what the Eagles can do. Obviously today against the Giants, but again, the door is open here for the Eagles to make a little run, and certainly the Cowboys are not making it easy on themselves to say the least.
Feeding off of that though, Jeff, what do you think about Washington still in the mix here too?
Yeah, Washington obviously has, right there because they have two games obviously against Dallas and they have two games against Philadelphia. So a lot of division games here in the NFC East, which is surprising given the fact that we're already almost in December, that all these division games are still in play. But, Washington still has a shot to drive their own bus here right into the division if they can get their own streak going. So this is going to be a very interesting December as we wrap up November here today and get into December. We're into the second half of the season, obviously, of fair against each other now that we're getting into real divisional play now in the NFC East to see where these teams stack up against each other because they haven't played each other. Washington hasn't played Philly. Washington hasn't played Dallas. So there's a lot of settling to be done here within this division.
Yeah, Mike, what did you make of Dallas's loss against the Raiders on Thursday evening?
Absolutely embarrassing that Dallas would lose to a 500 team in the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sorry, but this is your traditional Thanksgiving Day game. You expect to do well, and you didn't against a team like the Las Vegas Raiders. You just can't go in to the latter half of the season and you lose to the Raiders. What's that say about your season when you lose to a team like that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely
Dallas is in trouble.
They can very well be. I mean, Dallas is now 7-4. You've got the Green Bay Packers at 8-3. The Buccaneers at 7-3. Arizona Cardinals go into today's action at 9-2. I mean, if you're the Cowboys, you were thinking that you were playing, and probably still are, still thinking that you're playing for the number one seed in the NFC and that all-important bye week because only one team in the NFC will be getting that all-important bye heading into the playoffs and will not have to play that extra game. So very, very big loss by the Dallas Cowboys. And you look at the Cowboys schedule, Jeff, and it's not a very conducive schedule for the Dallas Cowboys coming up with what they got on tap for themselves.
No, they've got a tough schedule, no question about it. But again, it's going to come down to how they fare in their division. How do they play in these division games? And I looked at Thursday night, Thursday afternoon's game as kind of a prove it game for the Cowboys. This is a Thanksgiving Day game. You got to come out. You got to beat the Raiders, and they didn't do it. It was kind of like a prove it game to see where you are. Look, Buffalo came out, in the nightcap and really smacked around New Orleans, which you would expect given what New Orleans is right now. But Buffalo coming off of their, tough loss, they came back, they bounced back, they got the win. So you expect that division to be hot and heavy now between the Bills and the New England Patriots. So there's going to be a battle to be had there in the AFC East. To see who's going to come out of there. Because again, you got you got those two teams playing each other twice as well. So like I said, there's all kinds of division games in December, and it's going to be to see how these teams play against each other now that we're starting to get out of this conference play and playing out of conference. So now that we're starting to get more into these division matchups, I think we're going to find out what these teams are, and it's totally wide open. I mean, that's the thing about the NFL right now. There aren't many teams right now, even at the bottom, that's eliminated outside of Detroit. That's really the only team you can look at right now that doesn't have a shot here at the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, you bring up the New Orleans Saints, Jeff, and they took a loss against the Buffalo Bills on Thursday evening. They don't look like they're the same team at all. They enter. They have not dropped to 5-6, and they're just a beat up team. They're on their backup quarterback. They just don't look like they're a playoff team this year. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I think that it's they're not there anymore. I mean, Simeon at quarterback doesn't really work for me. It's just to me, New Orleans doesn't look the part right now, and Tampa Bay is starting to cook. So you look at that division, and it looks like it's Tampa Bay's division to take at this point.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. The Saints are going up against the Dallas Cowboys this coming Thursday evening, December 2nd. They're hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Do you think the Cowboys
chance for the Cowboys to get healthy? I'll tell you that.
Yeah, do you think so too, Shane?
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree on that one.
Yeah, I tend to too. Do you think the Cowboys bounce back on Thursday, Mike?
I think they do, but if they mess this up, they could probably kiss the division goodbye.
I would tend to agree with you. I mean, the Saints have had a pretty good defense, but their offense has been struggling to put up points. And like Jeff said, it hasn't looked the same with their backup quarterback, Trevor Simeon, in the game, and a bunch of their players coming off of injuries. They need to get those players back to even have a shot at the
They're
playoffs.
starting to look like the Mets.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there.
They're really hurting without Kamara. I mean, there's no question about that. Without Kamara in the backfield coming out, I mean, he's been their bread and butter all year, put it that way. So I mean, with running but all with the pass catching, and then with Ingram, being banged up and having to take the workload didn't help anything there, right? So it's been a tough go in that with that like you said, with that offense that they have.
And then just to touch on the other game that was played on Thursday, the Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears kicked things
Who
off.
cares?
If you're a Lions fan.
Well, the only thing to care about is the fact that Matt Nagy is still employed by Chicago. There was a report out saying that Matt Nagy, the Bears head coach, would be fired right after the Thanksgiving game. But as of us taping the show on Sunday morning, he's still the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Does that come as a surprise for you, Shane? That Nagy is still the head coach, or
it doesn't? It doesn't. I mean, like I think we all know when coaches get fired is that that awful day, and stuff on the old Black Monday, right? So I think they may wait until something of there because they won the game. I mean, it doesn't necessarily look great on the franchise either when you win a game and then all of a sudden you say, okay, well, the coach is gone. You know what I mean? Or something like this, unless he did it himself, unless he said, this is my last game I'm playing. But he didn't say that, right? So I think they let it ride until that time, and then they go from there as they're starting to probably look at others to groom. I know Nagy's gotten other reports. I mean, there's been a lot of unfortunateness, even with his own kids playing football. You know what I mean? And there's been comments being thrown out there that's like, get lost, you're fired, get rid of you, blah, 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 to the kids. You know what I mean? And stuff. So it's not a good scene. And I think either way, even if he does go the full season, I don't think he'll be back anyways next season. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think, I mean, unless the Bears go on a hellacious hot streak to close out the season, I think Nagy's gone.
Now, that'd be like the Giants winning again. Come on. I mean, that ain't going to happen, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think Nagy's gone at the end of the season. But going around the NFL, we've got some good games going on this week. We have the one of the headlining games, Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into Indianapolis to face the Colts. We've got Tom Brady going up against former Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz. Jeff, what do you think about the suddenly hot Indianapolis Colts hosting Brady and his Buccaneers?
Good luck to Carson Wentz today. mean, it looks like Tampa is really starting to get going. So, you might want to get off the tracks because the train's coming through, that kind of thing. If you're, I mean, Indianapolis is not Indianapolis is a good team. I mean, they put up a pretty good fight, and Tampa's won some games ugly recently. The only question I have is, is Gronk playing?
Yes.
Looks like he is. Yep.
Antonio Brown's
Gronk is
the only
playing,
one that's
then
not.
if Gronk is playing, Tampa wins. I mean, it's really that simple. If Gronk is in the game, Tampa wins. It's really that simple. If Gronk isn't there, you have a shot. So, because of that, Tampa wins.
I don't know about that, Coach. Jonathan Taylor, MVP conversation. Big running back for the Indianapolis Colts. Maybe keeping Tom Brady off the field.
Look, there's no question. Taylor had a great game. No question. You cannot deny. I mean, a phenomenal game. Let's give him all the credit in the world and stuff like that. But the problem is now you also kind of gave up your hand of what you're going to deal with Jonathan Taylor, basically, and make sure that you plug the holes. So that front four definitely doing that this weekend and saying, no, you're not going to run us. You're not going to run at us like that. You know what I mean? Yes, he has good pass catching skills, but they'll send the linebackers out, which are playing a lot faster as well too. You have to anticipate and say, Taylor, you're going to get some yardage, but you're not going to get that much. You know what I mean? And it really is what it comes down to. And again, too, I think this is going to be the game of clock control. And I think Tom Brady and that Tampa Bay are going to try to control the clock, just like an Aaron Rodgers type of a game, and say, we're not going to put Indianapolis offense out there that much. You know what I mean? And if it does go to a bit of a shootout, I'm expecting more of a Pittman type of aspect from Indianapolis more than anything. You know what I mean? I can see Pittman playing a bigger role this week as well, because Carson, I think if they get too far behind and they're realizing that the run is not necessarily moving the chains like they want, they're going to have to start throwing that ball a lot more to play catch up in some way. So I think this could be a little bit more of a shootout in that way, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily a big Jonathan Taylor. I mean, it looks good if Indy happens to pull it off. I mean, it only looks good for the Eagles for getting draft picks because Carson Wentz is winning, right? You know what I mean?
That is true. Absolutely, Mike. What do you think about
but
this
I don't
game?
see that. But I don't really see that happening though. Sorry, I don't see that one happening.
Brady plus Gronk equals Tampa win.
Yeah, I mean, you look
Period.
at the Colts.
Moving on.
I mean, you look at the Colts. They're 4-1 in their last 5, won 3 in a row. I will say this: if you're looking at the two quarterbacks, I would say Carson Wentz is more apt to take chances and put the ball in harm's way than Tom Brady is. Although Tom Brady has turned the ball over a few times this season as well.
He has. He's rushed and forced a lot of plays that he probably shouldn't have. But you're also dealing with a guy called Tom Brady who's got how many rings on his fingers, right? You know what I mean? So I think there's a big difference in it comes to the skill set, but also the gameplay of this. And the other thing too is really you're playing in the dome. That helps out Brady more than anything else too, just like Wentz, but it helps out Brady an awful lot.
This is true. Absolutely.
But here's a question I have for Coach. Do you think that Peyton Manning took it easy on Tom Brady on Monday night there in the Manning cast? I mean, do you think that he kind of because you know what, I didn't hear too much because you know what, there is that rivalry right there, and I was expecting to see Peyton go a little bit harder after Tom, and he kind of took it easy on him during the game and kind of left it to his brother to kind of lay some of the criticism there for Brady in the game. And of course, it was an awkward game because his brother obviously, having connections to the Giants, so it was kind of like this awkward kind of game that you had with the on the Manning cast on Monday night.
Oh, yeah, of course. Look at for all reports that I know of, these guys are all very, very good, best of friends, and there's no question about it. But you love the fact that the Mannings can give you the little darts though too. And Brady has the big shoulders where he could take it and doesn't mind dishing it back out. So I mean, it's very good in that way. But Brady still has that resentment towards Eli. You know what I mean? In that one game. So I mean, it's kind of like Eli, I really don't like you too much, right? So. But
Eli caught
like I
Brady
said,
2
it's
Super
always
Bowls.
been good. It's always been good, and you know, I think the thing too with what I really like, and I know by doing last year's Super Bowl and having an opportunity to talk with Tom and stuff is the fact of how upfront he is about the play of the game and what has to get done. You know what I mean? I think they won't take Indianapolis lightly. Offensively, they're definitely not taking them lightly, like against that defense. They know what they got to do. And I think this is why I'm saying is I'm expecting a lot to come from them. And I do think Gronk is going to play a factor in that. And I do think that Godwin is now the key guy. I think Evans, when you start looking at the pass ratio, Evans is not getting that as much thrown at him as much as Godwin is. So I think that's going to play a big factor. And I think you're going to see a different style coming from Tampa Bay as they start moving forward, because they need to get themselves a lot more on track in many ways if they wish to try to retain, to get back to that Super Bowl again.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with everything you said, Shane. I absolutely agree with that. Mike, any further comments on this game or no?
No.
Okay. Speaking of Tom Brady, his former team, the New England Patriots, will be in Tennessee taking on the Tennessee Titans. The spread in this one is Patriots minus 6.5 over the Titans. Jeff, do the Titans have a shot at beating the New England Patriots?
They do, but the Titans are not playing that well right now, and you're catching Belichick at a bad time, meaning the Patriots are playing very well. Question is now, can the Titans slow down? Slow down the Patriots. You know, Belichick's going to come in, try to take Tannehill out of the game, frustrate Tannehill a lot, and try to get that Titans passing game off kilter. So, and force them to try to run the football a little bit here and say, okay, can you do it? Can you run the football on us? And that Patriot defense is playing lights out right now. So, right now, I would find it very hard to see right now with the way things are set up. I find it very difficult to see, the Titans coming out here with a victory. But this is the NFL. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Yep. Shane,
I see the Patriots covering the spread.
Yeah.
I'll take Patriots, the points, and I'm gonna take the under.
Well, the Patriots are favored. Patriots are minus 6.5. So you're taking the Patriots minus 6.5, Mike?
Minus 6.5.
I gotcha.
And I'll take the under on the over/under.
Gotcha. Over/under is at 44.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under.
Gotcha. Shane, the Patriots have won scorching hot. They've won 5 in a row. The Tennessee Titans are 4-1 in the last 5, although they are coming off a loss last week. How do you see this one going down, Shane?
I see the Patriots taking this one.
Yeah.
I think not only I think Tennessee without, again too, is they just released Peterson as well and everything, because they don't have their star anymore. They don't have Mr. Henry in that backfield. That's their core. That's the guy that makes things happen. And unfortunately, with him out of the picture, and never mind. Also, Brown is also out too for them. So you're down a lot of offensive talent. Okay, it's very hard. You can't rely on your tight end with Pruitt to do everything for you either. Tannehill, I think, is going to be under pressure way too much by New England. I think that defense is really going to control that Tennessee offensive line. So I really don't see it looking good. And I think, if anything, this is probably the worst time for Tennessee, especially when they were leading their division as badly as they were, to now start to filter out of possibly playoffs if this keeps rolling the way it is.
I agree with you there. Speaking of divisions, we've got a huge divisional matchup. One of our fans of the show is actually going to be in the stadium watching this one. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be in Cincinnati to face the Bengals. Steelers come in at 5-4-1. The Bengals come in at 6-4. Right now, obviously, the Bengals have a slight edge because of that tie. The Bengals are 6-4-0, 3-2 in their last five, coming off a win. Steelers are 3-1-1 in their last five, coming off a loss. Big divisional matchup could have playoff implications as well. Jeff, how do you see this one going down? Bengals and the Steelers.
Well, it all comes down to how much you believe in the Bengals, because the Steelers obviously are going to come ready to play. Tomlin, all of his press conference.
Not again, Jeff.
Give me a second.
This week out of the Steelers, so I'm taking the Steelers in this matchup. I happen to feel that somehow Ben Roethlisberger will find a way of getting a win here. Again, the Steelers kind of win some of these ugly games as we've seen this season, and like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see this be within a touchdown late in the game, and somehow Ben Roethlisberger kind of pull out the game.
Yeah, and Shane, Steelers again, TJ Watt, Joe Hayden, and Minka Fitzpatrick looks like they'll all be back this week.
Getting healthy.
So Pittsburgh's defense is getting healthier, which should keep the scoring down, you would think. Right, Shane?
No, of course. I mean, look at that defense. When they are healthy, they play pretty dominant. Put it that way. Okay, there's no question about it. Their corners can sometimes get a little picked apart, but that run D is tough, and I think they're going to put the pressure on. I think the biggest thing right now is going to be, can Ben's offensive line keep him upright long enough for him to get that ball out fast against that Cincinnati defense? Because like I said, he's got the tools out there. Everybody's back. Claypool, all those guys are back. Najee, you're hoping, even coming out of the backfield, can catch the ball and do a lot of things too. But I think that it's going to come down to, can that offensive line of the Pittsburgh Steelers keep Ben upright long enough for him to make some key passes? And that's going to be the key right there.
Yep. And how do you see this game going down, Mike?
Big Ben's all washed up. Joe Burrow is the next generation quarterback. I'm giving it to the Bengals. I'll take the Bengals, the points, and I'm going to take the over on this one.
Gotcha. And the spread of that one is Steelers plus 4.5 in that one. Another game which should have some playoff ramifications. The LA Rams are going into Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers.
The frozen tundra of Lambeau Field.
The Rams come in at 7-3. The Packers are a half game better at 8-3. Again, this could have huge playoff implications later on in the season. The Rams right now are in second place in the NFC West, still trying to put pressure on the Arizona Cardinals. The Packers are in first place in the NFC North. Last five, the Packers are 3-2. They're coming off a loss, whereas the LA Rams are 3-2 and have lost 2 in a row. So neither team is exactly hot coming into this one. Jeff, you're a fan of the NFC West there. Can the Rams pull this one out over Aaron Rodgers and the Packers?
I don't see it. First of all, per a source just coming out here via tweet, Matthew Stafford is dealing with pain in his throwing arm. He's having some issues. He's banged up, to say the least. And that kind of shows in the way that they're playing. The Rams are playing right now. The Rams are a thin team. I just for some reason I just as good as many star players as the Rams have. I just, and again, coming off a bye, I just don't see, for the life of me, I just don't see, the Rams being able to come out and beat, a healthy Aaron Rodgers at this point, and the Green Bay Packers. I just, like I said, I think this is good. This could turn out to be a big disaster out there in LA, no question about it.
What's your thoughts? Can the Rams pull it off, Shane? or will the Packers maintain their lead over the LA Rams?
It's tough going in Lambeau, and,
Yeah.
and especially in the weather too, right? You know what I mean? I mean, it ain't sunny California where they're going right now, so it's going to be a tough. Yeah, it's framed up. I know there's who injured with Aaron Rodgers as well. I think right down to the end, it's going to just be a battle. And again, too, is Aaron has the knack to control the game. You know what I mean? He knows how to control that clock. He can control that game. They can't really afford to be losing either. I mean, so I do think they're going to play, without a doubt, very smart football. I'm just curious about what's going to happen if they don't have Aaron Jones in there. Are they still, because Dillon was not exactly as effective as they would like it, without Aaron Jones in the lineup. And Scantling and the rest of those guys kind of missed some key throws as well. So a lot of it's going to rely on the weather conditions too. But you do have pretty much two of the best teams that are out there playing this. So it is going to be an exciting matchup. There's no question about that. I think it's probably going to come down to that field goal and another kicking game. I don't think it's going to be a blow up by all means by either team.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get down to a bit of a kicking game, the way I see that one.
Yeah, I would agree. What do you think, Mike?
I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think the Packers will take it. I'm taking the Packers, the points, and the over.
Gotcha. Jeff, I'll bring up the 49ers next. They're going out to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Vikings come in at 5-5. 49ers come in to this game at 5-5 as well. 49ers have won 2 straight and are starting to get kind of back into that playoff hunt. When you talk about the extra wild card team being in play, they're 3-2 in their last 5. Same as the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings have won 2 straight as well. They're still trying to put a little. Vikings are still trying to put a little pressure. They're 2 games behind the Packers for the division. But again, you're talking about 2 teams that may be viable for that last wild card position. All of a sudden, Jeff.
Well, it just should be an
don't forget they're
game.
playing in San Francisco. They're playing in San Francisco, not Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Yes. So and I like that because being out of that mess out there, Minnesota will be nice. This matchup is interesting. I'm taking my 49ers obviously to beat the Vikings. I think they'll be able to run the football pretty effectively against the Vikings. So the 49ers are a hot team. I don't see Minnesota really slowing the 49ers down. 49ers got a favorable schedule down their stretch of the season. So you look at the 49ers and they're gonna be a threat down the stretch, no question, in December. When you look at their schedule down the stretch. So assuming they can stay healthy, keep their quarterback upright, keep him healthy. I think that the 49ers are starting to find that rhythm that they haven't had in a while, and I think that's gonna help them down the stretch. And also, like I said, the schedule that they have coming up here plays in their favor as well.
Yeah, and Shane, Everson Griffin ruled out for this game, placed on the reserve non-football illness list after he had a mental health breakdown. Police responded to a 911 call at his home early Wednesday morning. Luckily, nothing severe came out of that call, other than Everson Griffin obviously needing some mental health time away from the Minnesota Vikings. But that's a key loss for the Vikings in this one, Shane.
Yeah, you know what? First off, and to everything, I mean, all the best to Mr. Griffin. I mean, hope he gets all the help and everything that he needs to move forward in his career and his life, you know what I mean, and everything like that. So they did a great job of handling everything when need be, and we just go from there, and prayers to him and his family and stuff. But you're right, the Vikings do lose a key component. There's no question about it. But again, I mean, I think it favors San Francisco playing in San Francisco. There's no question about that. And everything. And I do think that San Francisco D can put a little bit more pressure on Cousins out there. The only crazy part is Cousins is that type of guy that can make this a bloody ball game by making things happen right at the tail end. You know what I mean? He can get it out there, dump it off, some crazy thing like that, and it just when you think you've got them, they seem to pull out another close one. You know what I mean? And I'm saying it could go to an overtime. You know, something crazy like that is how I see this game sort of playing out, because I do think Jefferson is going to do what he's got to do, and then Debo is going to do what he's got to do on the other side. But Thielen and those guys, and even Dalvin Cook, I think if they can control Dalvin Cook, I think you're in a lot better game if you can keep Dalvin Cook under that 100 yards that he's normally getting out of that backfield. And I think it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a tough game, but I do think it favors San Francisco a little bit more. But again, Cousins is that type of player that he just makes things happen right at the tail end. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's frustrating is what it really is.
Oh, yeah. He's a kind of like underrated kind of quarterback. Sometimes he doesn't show up in those standalone games like your Sunday night games or your Monday night or Thursday night. But you put him on a Sunday game, he can come up with a big game. No question about it. How do you think this game plays out, Mike?
Okay. This is the Sunday?
This is the 49ers and the Vikings.
Oh, I'm picking the 49ers.
Gotcha.
I'm picking the 49ers. I am not going to take the points, but I am going to take the under.
Gotcha. Another big divisional game. We talked about the other one earlier. We'll get to this one now. At M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, the Ravens will be taking on the Cleveland Browns. And this one, Ravens come in at 7-3. The Browns come in at 6-5. The Browns are right now in last place in the AFC North. The Browns desperately need a win to maintain pace with the other teams in the division. Obviously, Browns are 3-2 in their last 5. They won coming off a victory. The Baltimore Ravens are 3-2 in the last 5, coming off another win last week. We heard the Browns quarterback taking issue with the fans this past week. That got blown up, was all over social media. The media picked it up, obviously. Jeff, how do you see this game going down between the Browns and the Ravens?
Take the Ravens. Period.
Gotcha. So Jeff is taking the Ravens. Shane, what do you think?
You know what? I want to take the Ravens, but I'm going to go with the Browns. I'm going to take the Browns. I'm going to try to flip this coin the other way. And it's not because I don't like the Ravens. I do. I love Lamar and everything like that. But I think that there's I think with everyone coming back now for the Browns, with Hunt back in the mix, they got a couple of defensive guys back, Chubb back, everybody like this. And I think it can take a little bit of workload off of his throwing shoulder for Mayfield to run the ball a little bit more. Yeah. And Baltimore sometimes gets a little stifled when the run game comes at them. And especially if you got both Chubb and Hunt back there again, it might be a little bit more trickier than people think. So I'm gonna flip this one and go with the Browns. And I think the Browns are a little bit more desperate as well right now too.
Oh, absolutely. And Mike, Baker Mayfield blew up in the media this past week, kind of taking issue with some of the fans and the booing issue that they had going on there. Obviously, the Browns need this one, being in last place in the division. What do you think? Can they get a win over the Baltimore Ravens?
I think they can if Baker Mayfield can just calm down and focus on what he has to do to get his team back up and running. It's going to be a tough task against Lamar Jackson, but I think he can do it.
All right, and we got Monday night. The Seahawks will be taking on the Washington football team in FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. So Washington will be the home one in this one. The Seahawks are favored. Seahawks +1 in this one. Jeff, do you give the Seahawks any chance with Russell Wilson in this one, or do you think the Washington football team will improve from their 4-6 record?
I think Washington improves from their 4-6 record. I think there are too
Yeah.
many issues going on with Seattle right now to think that they're going to go in and beat Washington. So like I said, Washington has it all in front of them as far as the division goes. I think this is a win for Washington.
And let me ask you this one, Jeff. This time next year, do you think Russell Wilson will be the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks?
No.
I tend to agree with you there. Shane, what do you think? Well, Mike, what do you think?
Go ahead, Mike.
I would like to see Russell Wilson return to the Seattle Seahawks. He has become the face of that franchise in recent years, but odds of that are like 50-50 at best.
Yeah,
90-10, he's gone. 90-10, he's gone.
I like
he's
to be
gone.
lenient there, Jeff. I like to be
he's gone. He's gone.
Jeff, I like to be very lenient, so I'm going 50-50 at this point.
I don't know. I tend to agree with Jeff on that one, Mike, because Russell Wilson created a lot of noise, if you remember, the last offseason, this past summer. I think his camp put out this information about these are the 5 teams that Russell Wilson wouldn't mind going to, and they put that list out, if you remember, last summer, created a little bit of noise, and then all of a sudden Seattle went out and made some acquisitions to make him happy and kind of calm down. But with the way the season is kind of played out for the Seahawks, I don't know that he returns to the Seahawks. He may want to be traded, and the Seahawks may want to move on from Russell Wilson. They got a 3-7 record, and if they're not in playoff contention, Russell Wilson and may want to get out of Seattle. And remember, Sierra too, his wife, may want a bigger, a more lucrative city to go to. Maybe New York. I don't know that they'd want to go to the Giants, but who knows if the Giants move on from their quarterback. But you look at some of the cities that may be looking for a quarterback that Sierra may want to go to further her career. Shane, what do you think? Is Russell Wilson going to be the quarterback of Seattle next year?
Well, there's two scenarios on this one, because I also look and say, will Pete Carroll be back as a head coach as well?
True. Yep.
You know what I mean? He's not getting any younger, and he's also not getting many wins. And
it's not a knock against Pete Carroll. He's a great coach.
Well, I mean,
he's a legend. He's a legendary coach.
USC and some of those other places may not think so, but it's one of these things where, you know what, I think you're going to see.
He just had a bad team in the Jets.
You're going to have a lot of transitions, I think, happening in that organization. The defense needs an overhaul. There's no question about that. You don't have a running back or a run game, with injuries and things like this. Lockett and Metcalf are both not exactly happy with how their game and season is going, especially when it comes to contracts. You know what I mean? And things. They used to be marked up as being the guys to now being nowhere. And then again, Wilson is doing the same thing of saying, listen, I want that shiny ring. I want like what all these other guys have, and that's a ring. So where am I going to get one that's going to be beneficial to me in so many ways? Now, anything's possible, and you're right. I mean, family can play a factor with his wife, and some things of saying like, we'd like to head out to somewhere that's a little bit more flashier of a city or something like this. Maybe even Chicago. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's a lot of things that can happen in the next little while, but I don't think you can necessarily say, no, Russell Wilson is going to be staying in Seattle. I don't think anyone can say that. You know what I mean? And I think that there's going to be some changes, just like what's happening with the general manager of the New York Giants. This is his last season. You know what I mean? He's said that already too. So there's going to be changes that are coming. And I just don't know if I'm going to see a head coach there either in Seattle as well. I think we might see somebody else fill in that role.
That could very well be. I mean, Russell Wilson is playing right now at age 32. And so he's entering the prime year. I mean, I know the quarterbacks, with the way the league is structured and everything, I know quarterbacks are playing longer. than they ever have been before. But Russell Wilson at age 32 is kind of entering the prime years of his career, and I don't think he's going to, as much as he likes the Seahawks. He created a little bit of noise last all season, and I don't think he's going to want to remain in Seattle during a rebuild, knowing what the rest of the division and conference may look like going forward. So he may push to get traded in the off season, and if the Seahawks get a good offer for Russell Wilson, they may move off Russell Wilson and start a rebuild. But like you say, Pete Carroll may move on from Pete Carroll as well. Shane, with the Seahawks taking on Washington today, do you think they have a shot at beating Washington, or do you think Washington's going to take this one?
No, I like Washington. I like Washington in this one. I think Ron Rivera's got this offense and everybody like this flowing. Heineke seems to be the trusted guy right now, and I mean they're playing with some no names out there, receivers. DeAndre Carter is catching a touchdown for the last 3 weeks in a row. You know what I mean, and everything. So you've got different options, even though you're a little bit hurting at the tight end position. With Gibson and them in the backfield, they seem to be doing the job that they got to do. I think the biggest thing is Heineke has made the right decisions lately and not thrown the interceptions like he was previous first few games. You know what I mean? And that defense, even without Chase Young out with an ACL, that defense is still going to give Russ a lot of headaches. And Seattle is the worst right now at being run on. You know what I mean? Gibson, I think, is going to have a heyday. Missick, all these guys are going to run on that team. So I don't see it being a very, very fun time for them right now.
I agree with you. All right, let's get into this one here. Jeff, we've got the New York Giants taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be live from MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Eagles are -3.5 in this one. Jeff, do you think the Giants fired their offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett, after being humiliated on Monday night? Do you think the Giants have any prayer of beating the Eagles, Jeff?
Boy, you're really setting this thing up, for the Eagles.
You're setting this one up for me too.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to pick the Giants, except for the fact that the Eagles' running game is kind of banged up at this point. Howard is out, so this rivalry is obviously, these games are always kind of fluky when you look at Eagles Giants. Division game, obviously, and you've got a new coordinator in there. That's going to want to prove something in this game. That's going to want to come out and throw some wrinkles in there that the Eagles can't really practice practice on, because the guy's coming in here fresh and he's going to throw some new things at the Eagles offensively. And look, the Giants have weapons. Let's be honest, the Giants have some weapons offensively. I mean, I'm going to say this right now. The Giants should not be as bad as they look. I mean, to be honest, but they're just right now looking. They're just a mess right now, and you wonder if that team is going to quit at this point. I mean, that's really the question right now. Are they going to? They're in last place. Are they just going to lay down and just let the Eagles walk all over them and really just kind of quit? Or are they going to put up a fight? I mean, that's really the question you have going into this game is, what's the mentality? And this is for the coach right now, is really from a head game, what's the mentality right now of the Giants going into this game is, because what the Eagles are going to bring in this game. The Eagles are coming in flying high right now. So you wonder right now where the Giants are right now in terms of everything, because not even Eli Manning on the Manning cast had a lot of answers for what's going on right now with the Giants. So it's all right now a head game right now for the Giants.
Yeah, and I'll give you the inactive for the Giants in this one. Sterling Shepard, wide receiver, two tight ends, Caden Smith and Kyle Rudolph. Wide receiver Kadarius Toney is out. fullback Colin Gillespie is out, and guard Wes Martin is out for the Giants.
Yeah, but they got most of their big players in, Jay. I mean, most of their big-name players are active and ready to go. So they should be able to put some points on the board. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Sterling Shepard, Kyle Rudolph, Kadarius Toney, those are big players for the Giants, Jeff. And I got to take issue with something you said too. The Giants are on a short week, playing last Monday night. There's not much really that the new offensive coordinator can put in to the playbook, coming off a short week, only having a couple of days of practice, like they would have had a walkthrough like Tuesday or Wednesday, and maybe a full practice Thursday. There's not really a whole lot he could call.
I'm telling you right now. If the Eagles go in, you're thinking they're just going to beat the Giants coming off the bus. They've got another thing coming for them. Look.
The one thing I will take.
The question I have is, will the Giants play with any pride? That's the question I have is, will the Giants play with any pride, or are they just going to let themselves get run over by the Eagles? That's really the question.
What do you think, Mike? I'll let you respond to that one.
I think the Giants are going to be playing with pride because this is a division rival, and Strahan's number is getting retired today, so they got to play with...
Yeah, then he can go to outer space. Then Strahan can go to outer space,
Strahan's everywhere nowadays. Yeah. He's got Good Morning America. He's got his trip to outer space. He's got a $100,000 pyramid filling the shoes of the legendary Dick Clark.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's tough to fill the shoes of Dick Clark, but Strahan's done an admirable job.
Yeah.
So the Giants gotta be playing with some semblance of pride for Strahan.
Yep, and to just point, Jordan Howard is out for this game, but they will have Kenneth Gainwell, Miles Sanders, and Boston Scott up as running backs in this one. How do you see this game shaping up, Shane?
Well, we always know that they should have been using Miles Sanders a long time ago, right? So I mean, it's now taking them forever to finally get that thing going. But you know what? I think they're going to rely a little bit more on Goddard out there and everything, because if the Giants give up containment, I think Jalen's just going to take off and do his thing. I mean, Giants seem to be that team that kind of sort of tick you off a little bit. You think you got them, and they pull something stupid and come out and start winning again, right? So it's very frustrating in that way. We'll see what happens with Barkley as well, because he's listed as a go. He might be able to keep the chains moving a little bit as well too. So I mean, it'll be interesting in that part there. But I don't know. I'm going to take the Eagles on this one, but I just don't have a lot of faith in this whole game itself, I guess I could say.
I can see that. I think that the Eagles head coach has figured out the Eagles offense, has figured out that the Eagles are a run-heavy team, and Nick Sirianni has leaned on the running game, leaned on the offensive line, because earlier in the season, he tried to run his offense with a lot of the RPOs and that type of thing, but gradually he's figured it out and come to his senses that he needs to rely on this mammoth offensive line and the running game, and that's led to the Eagles securing some victories as of late, and I think that's a good thing for the Philadelphia Eagles that he's come to this conclusion. The Eagles have won 2 straight, are 3-2 in their last 5. Giants are 2-3 and have lost 1. Obviously, Giants are 3-7, so it looks like the playoff hopes are not in the Giants' favor this year. But I look at the Giants coming off that really bad loss. Yes, Freddie Kitchens is going to be their offensive coordinator in this one, but the playbook isn't. He can't really change the playbook. He hasn't had enough time to really put in new plays, so he's going to go with the same playbook that the Giants have been operating off of. Now, what I will say is that I will say this to Jeff's point. I will say that Kitchens will probably maybe put in a run a flea flicker or one of those couple of those strange kind of plays. That's what.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem with Freddie Kitchens. He has Danny Dimes a quarterback, and he's he's going to throw a pick. He's going to throw a dumb pick. He's going to, because that's what happened against Dallas. The guy, this quarterback just doesn't have a sense for where he's throwing the football. I mean, we saw that against the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, where is this guy throwing the football? I mean, not even Eli Manning could explain, where that ball was going there when he threw that dumb pick that he did there. I mean, really. So I think you can put whatever offensive coordinator you want in is there. Right. The bottom line is you can't change the Giants quarterback. You can, but they won't. And again, that's the problem you have right now with the Giants, and that's why the Eagles are going to win the game, because Danny Dimes is a quarterback.
Yeah, and that offensive line of the New York Giants is an absolute mess at this point, too, which I think should help out the Philadelphia Eagles if they want to apply pressure on the New York Giants. That we saw it Monday night. The Giants' offensive line is just a sieve. And once that starts breaking down, like you said, Danny Dimes is just a mess at quarterback, and he will turn the ball over. And that's one thing Jalen Hurts has not done a whole lot of this season is turn the ball over. That's one thing you have to give him credit for, is Jalen Hurts has protected the ball. He doesn't turn the ball over all that much. So got to give Jalen Hurts credit there. So I do see the Eagles coming out with a victory there.
Now, just remember that, Jalen Hurts is good, when he's running the football, handing it off, but, his passing is still a work in progress. That's still kind of something that, he's working on. But as far as running the football goes, as far as, handing the ball off, that's been going very well for him, and he's able to really use his legs, get out of the pocket, and make some good choices out there. So.
And Mike, how much will it hurt Giants fans if Devonta Smith catches a touchdown or two?
It's gonna hurt big time. Because Devonta Smith is a weapon on the ground and in the air. He was like that in Atlanta. He was kind of like that in New York, but he'll be like that in this game coming up.
Oh, yeah. Of course, the reason I bring that up is because hearkening back to last year's the 2021 NFL draft, it was the Philadelphia Eagles trading with the Dallas Cowboys to trade up and just leapfrog the New York Giants, because the Giants were all in on Devonta Smith until Howie Roseman made a call to Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys and leapfrogged the New York Giants to take wide receiver Devonta Smith off the board and come to Philadelphia.
Oh, I had the wrong Devontae.
So that was a burr under the saddle of Dave Gettleman of the New York Giants, because Giants were all set and ready and psyched and pumped up and were all ready to take Devonta Smith. And then all of a sudden they heard the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cowboys have made a trade, and the Philadelphia Eagles are on the board.
Why didn't Gettleman make a counter trade to leapfrog the Eagles?
He couldn't. Once Dallas traded with the Eagles, that's it. Eagles had the pick. And it all stems from the pick that was made by the Denver Broncos earlier in the draft as well. That kind of set everything kind of in motion, because the Cowboys were looking at taking the cornerback that the Broncos took, and once the Broncos took that cornerback, Dallas decided, we can trade down a little bit, and we're open to trading the pick. And Howie Roseman waited, pounced, and took Devontae. And Devonta Smith has been an all-pro wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. So that could be a big burr in the saddle up at MetLife Stadium if Devontae catches a touchdown or two.
Blame Jerry Jones.
Blame Howie Roseman. He made the deal. Howie and Jerry Jones got together, so you got to look at the two guys. And Dave Gettleman.
Gettleman could have offered better for that pick.
I don't know. And then Dave Gettleman decided to trade down. Once that trade got consummated and the Eagles took Devontae, Gettleman did something that he's never done before and traded down in the draft.
Basically forced Gettleman's hand.
Kind of, because though that one player that Gettleman was all in on, and the Giants were all in on, went to Philadelphia and will be playing against the Giants in this one. So that'll be fun to watch if Devontae catches a touchdown on the Giants defense in this one. So guys, we will go around. I'll ask you for your top 3 picks of the week. Jeff, you want to kick us off, or you want me to come back to you?
49ers, Steelers, and Pats.
49ers, Steelers, and Pats in this one. All right. Shane, what are your top 3 picks of the week?
I'm gonna go with your Eagles. I'm gonna take the Eagles on this one. I'm gonna take I'm gonna take the Chargers.
Okay.
And I'm gonna also, this one, it's like heads or tails on some of these damn ones this week.
I know.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the Patriots too. I'm gonna take the
Okay.
Patriots. I gotta be safe.
Gotcha. And Mike, your top 3 picks of the week.
I'm going to go all safe picks here. I'm going to go with Bucks over Colts. I will go with the Packers over the Rams.
Okay.
And I'll go Bengals over Steelers.
All right. And as for my top 3 picks of the week, I will go with my Philadelphia Eagles over the New York Giants. I will go with the Steelers over the Bengals. And I will go with the I will take the Green Bay Packers over the LA Rams. I will choose that one as my top 3 picks of the week. So Mike, I teased it at the top of the show. Your Mets have started to make some wheeling and dealing. They got their general manager in place, and all of a sudden, your Mets have been signing some players here. If you want to let everybody in on what the Mets have been doing over this holiday weekend.
Yes, Eduardo Escobar was one of the big signings. 2 years, I believe it was $28 million. Decent infielder. Can hit for power and average. Came from the Milwaukee Brewers. First time All-Star this past season. So good on him. And Starling Marte was the biggest on Black Friday. 4 years, $78 million for Starling Marte. Now they're looking towards pitching. They're looking at Max Scherzer, Kevin Gausman. They're looking at re-upping with Marcus Stroman. They're also looking at re-upping with Javi Baez. So Steve Cohen is telling Billy Epler, hey, I've got all this money. I've got like $22 billion in my bank account. Go ahead, flex that wealth around. Sign whoever you have to. We're going to contend in 22.
Yeah, Jeff, what did you think about Starling Marte coming to the New York Mets?
Jeff, come in.
Did we lose Jeff? I think we lost Jeff.
Major Jeff.
We lost Jeff. Well, let me tell you, as far as my perspective goes, Jeff may be having some computer issues, but I'll tell you what.
Major Jeff. Come in, Major Jeff.
I'll tell you what. Let me bring Jeff back in there. Jeff.
Major Jeff, can you hear me?
Starling Marte goes to the New York Mets. Was that a bit of a surprise to you?
Not really. I mean, Starling Marte, his big thing is his wheels, and we all know, what his deal was with the Phillies. So I don't think it was that big, of a signing for the Mets. I wish him the best of luck. I think that was a big contract to give to a guy who's is a one-tool player at this point. So good luck to the Mets with Starling Marte.
Was this a surprise to you at all, Shane? Marte to the Mets?
No, it's. I think we're starting to see in sports. It's about buy whatever you can. You know what I mean, to win the championships. That's how it's going to be. You're gonna buy what you got to do. It's the only way you can win. It's not about so much developing anymore as much as we need to win now, and that's the attitude in most major league sports. So who's got the deeper pockets and who can afford to do it?
Yeah, this is true. It was a little bit of a surprise to me, considering the Mets don't have a manager in place yet. I thought that Marte might go to a team that had more of a, was a little bit more stable, I would say. A manager that, a team that was a little bit more stable that had a manager in place. But I do think it was a very good, very strong signing for the Mets. As far as the 4 years go, I think he's, Marte had a very good 2021 season for the Marlins and A's. He batted .310 last season with 12 home runs and 47 stolen bases. So the Mets add some speed at the top of their lineup. Marte was rated as the number 10 free agent of the 21-22 class.
New post from Metsmerized. The Mets are aggressively pursuing Scherzer.
They definitely want starting pitching, no doubt about it. Now, Marte
alongside with Gossman and DeGrom, that would be a dangerous 1-2-3 punch. And if they can get Stroman back, that 1 through 4 would be awesome.
What do you think about that rotation, Jeff? If that was to come to pass?
Well, I think that would be a very interesting rotation. Obviously, having having DeGrom and Scherzer in that rotation. I mean, a lot of people thought he might end up in St. Louis after the moves that St. Louis is kind of making out there. But it would be an interesting fit, for Scherzer in New York, knowing the fact that they don't have a manager yet. But, hey, I mean, do things backwards. I mean, that's what the Mets are doing. I mean, sign free agents before you got a manager. So
this is definitely true. I think it'll make it now with Scherzer. He seems to be more of a West Coast guy.
No, he's not. He played for Washington for many years. What are you talking about being a West Coast?
Well, yeah. But who did he pitch for late this past season? Where did he go?
L.A.
L.A.
Well, he went to L.A. because he was traded there. He was traded. He didn't go there of his own volition. He was traded there.
But I do think he had a lot of say in where he was going to get traded to. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I would go to the Dodgers too. If anybody asked me, where do you want to go at that point in the year? I would say, yeah, hell yeah, put me on the Dodgers. Hell yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's not like, oh, I'm a West Coast guy, I want to go there. I mean, it's like, hey, the Dodgers are like, this awesome team. Yeah. Hey, yeah, I want to be a part of that. I want to get me some of that. So yeah, let me go out there and play for that team.
And that point,
but no, Scherzer could go anywhere. I mean, Scherzer played for Detroit. He played for Washington. I mean, this guy's, more of an East Coast kind of guy. He can handle it.
Okay.
I think I would have gone to San Francisco at that point in the year if I was to be traded, because San Francisco was top of the NL West for who knows how long. I'd want to go to a contender. So it was either down to San Francisco or LA. I would have chosen San Francisco.
Yeah, so we'll have to. And Jeff, the Phillies are
overpowered as is.
And Jeff, the Phillies have not made any. They've made some front office moves to bolster their front office, but as far as free agency goes, they've so far been
crickets.
Chirp,
exactly.
Chirp.
Yep.
Kind of radio silence there. They've been inquiring reportedly on several free agents, but those free agents haven't put pen to paper yet. And signed with the Phillies. And It looks like some of these big free agents may be signing before December 1st, and the lockout goes into effect.
Well, you want to beat the lockout. I mean, that's really what it's
That is
about right
10
now. If
days
you want to get
from now.
signed and you want to get there before the lockout happens, so at least you have some of your future set. So I think that's part of the deal there. So
Yeah,
before things get frozen.
yeah. Do you think this will be a wild week, Shane, with December 1st on the horizon and a lockout looming for Major League Baseball?
I think it's going to start to build up to a bit of a interesting week that we're going to get, and I think they're going to try to look. It never fails. Whenever there's a word of a lockout, I mean, there's always going to be those issues and things like this. So I do see that possibly coming about where they're going to have both camps throwing out little things, you know what I mean, to stir the pot and get everybody riled up and, try to favor one side to the other and everything there. So, yeah, I think we're going to see that.
Yeah, I think so too. The way these free agents are signing right now, especially some of the bigger, more well-known names, I think this could be a free agent frenzy week for Major League Baseball. Just getting some of these contracts, these players signing before the uncertainty of a lockout and how baseball is going to look when it resumes after the lockout too. DH could be coming to the National League. Some other rules and things may go into effect as well. So we don't know what baseball is going to look like on the other side. We could speculate, but we don't know for certain how it's going to look. While I got you guys here, Jeff, King LeBron was suspended for one game this week for elbowing. What do you think of LeBron's suspension? Do you think it was warranted, Jeff?
Well, I think LeBron's getting frustrated. I think Shane could probably speak to this more. I think it's more frustration on LeBron seeing what's going on right there in Golden State right now, what's happening out there, and with Curry and so forth, and seeing the frustration that's happening with his own team out there in LA, that they're not off to the greatest of starts the way Golden State is. So. And you're starting to see, some frustration. You don't see it, this early in the season. The frustration with LeBron, which is kind of curious to see the fact that that he's getting frustrated. But let's face facts. There are a lot of people right now giving a lot of press to Steph Curry out there, and LeBron's sort of out there just hanging out there in LA, not getting any of the press or anything else anymore with the NBA. It's all about Steph Curry and Golden State right now, Shane.
Yep, and you nailed it. I mean, I think when LeBron tried to get Russ to get over there to LA, I think that the mindset of these guys was saying, listen, to give us a little bit more freedom to sit on the bench for our own rest time, instead of needing to play every game every night, and wear us out before playoffs come. But that hasn't panned out, and I think they're also starting to look at some of the moves that they got rid of. Kuzman's doing amazing out there in Washington. Caruso's doing fabulous in Chicago. All these guys didn't necessarily want to leave, but they were sort of forced out in some ways. And you look at that now, just to bring in one guy who, is not necessarily producing like he was, even remotely with Washington, right? It's actually caused a little bit more chaos. So LeBron's, and I think this is the biggest thing, is everybody's going to throw this and saying, well, this was your idea, LeBron, and it's not working. So the pressure's building on him. And then just down the road, you got a team like Golden State, who's doing like out of nowhere from last year of being dead last to being number one in the West. And they're just doing it still without Klay Thompson. They're still doing it with, Draymond, who's just getting there and nothing spectacular, right? Wiggins is barely on the scoreboard at certain times too. So, Steph has stepped up and done his job, and he's doing it. And I think you're right. The jealousy, the frustration, especially in LA, Golden State, all these places like that, you need to win, and you need to win fast, and you need to win now to be productive, because if not, they start just eating at you. The media will come at you nonstop. So, yeah, you are going to see frustration. You're going to see, I think, even now start seeing AD getting a little more frustrated. You're going to see Russ getting more frustrated. And now you got a coach that can't really meld them together and say, it's all right, let's get this going. Because in essence, LeBron is still that coach too.
Very true. What did you think of that LeBron suspension, Mike?
Trying to emulate a movie. He was trying to emulate, I believe, Major League with his celebration.
I don't know.
That was a little excessive on LeBron James' part, but of course he's LeBron James. He can do whatever the blank he wants.
But Jay, how are you feeling about your Sixers?
Not too good. Well, a little better now that they're starting to get a little healthier. And they got Joel Embiid back. They still lost. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They're 2-8 in the last 10 games. But they did get Joel Embiid back. He did play well. They're tied for the number. I mean, right now they're rated number 11 or whatever, but they're 10-10. They're at 500 with Boston and Cleveland for the number 9 spot, I guess, if you will.
Yep.
In the Eastern Conference, but they're struggling. They got to get healthy. They got to get Joel Embiid back. They've had guys out of the lineup. They've been playing with, a beat-up lineup on the West Coast on a road trip for a while now. So hopefully they can come back to Philadelphia, get some guys healthy, and start from scratch again and start getting some wins underneath their belt.
But the funny thing is that you look at last year to this year, Philly got knocked out right now, and it's the Charlotte Hornets that have replaced them. You know what I mean? And stuff. And Charlotte is playing pretty lights out type of ball right now.
Yeah.
You got the Knicks. The Knicks starting. Yeah, the Hornets.
Yeah,
the Hornets are 13-9.
The Hornets?
The Hornets. Yep.
They're 5th.
When are they going to bring back the checkered flag uniforms? When are the Hornets going to bring back the checkered flag uniforms?
Charlotte is that sleeper team. Charlotte's that sleeper team in the East right now. And I think that's the problem that I think a lot of people sort of underestimated, that their record is showing of where they are being, and they don't seem to be losing a stride right now. Their guys are all playing really well. They're playing healthy, and that may cost Philly and others if they can maintain this, because like I said, the Knicks are going to be the one that you got to try to beat and keep up with, and you never know with the Knicks. Knicks are unpredictable. We'll say that. But I mean, like I said, Charlotte has sort of solidified themselves in that mix of where Philly was last season.
Yeah, I mean, you got Charlotte, you've got Chicago, the Chicago Bulls, 13-8, Washington Wizards, 13-7, Miami Heat up there again, 13-7. The Atlanta Hawks are 11-10. I mean, you got some of these teams that.
So why didn't they get rid of Ben? Why didn't they get rid of Ben to bring in somebody to help the team?
Well, that's strictly on Daryl Morey. I think Morey would love to get rid of Ben, but he's holding firm, and they're
changing his name to Daryl Moron is what they're changing his name to.
Yeah, like I said, Coach.
They're looking at where you're looking at where the Sixers are now. He's gonna at the end of this and look at himself and say, I could have gotten somebody to at least help produce with Tobias and with who's been injured at certain times to keep us in the mix. And this might be way too late of what's happening and stuff, because the bench is not producing as much as you want. That's for sure. You know what I mean? And this is going to be a stumbling block as they move on, because guess what? There's no way in the world MB, Tobias Harris, and Max and all these guys can play 32 to 37 minutes a game for the rest of the season. No way.
Yeah, this is true. They don't, and they need Embiid. And they've been without him. He's been out because of COVID protocol. He's been dealing with COVID for a while now, and
it's not about Embiid, Jay. It's about the bench. It's about the depth. I think that coach is trying to get to, and the fact that they just don't have the depth that they need to compete with these other teams in the East. I mean, that's really the issue right now. And if you're not going to have Ben Simmons, then you're playing short. I mean, that's what you're doing right now. You're playing a man down instead of having somebody in there. who can give you maybe some quality minutes and put some points on the board, you have nothing. You have a big fat 0 across the board because this guy won't get off the toilet and make a move. I mean, that's really the problem you have right now in Philadelphia. But we got to discuss before we get off here. We got to discuss some college football because a lot of stuff was going down yesterday, and look. It pains me to say this. Okay, I'm a 49er fan. All right, I'm gonna say it right now. Okay. Harbaugh's having a good year out there in Michigan. Congratulations to Harbaugh. Okay, he should be undefeated because the rest blew the one game yet. So technically, Harbaugh should be undefeated, and he did beat Ohio State and set all those records. So Ohio State, all those records by Ohio State now goes off the books because he finally got that big monkey off his back of beating Ohio State. So congratulations to Harbaugh for finally getting that monkey off his back. He did it in the big house, so congratulations to Harbaugh. And now he can look forward to, I think, possibly being ranked number 2 right now, or he should be ranked coming out number 2. So he should be right there for the in the playoff for the national championship. And right now, I would say he's looking pretty good right now there, Shane, for the national championship at this point in Michigan.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. He got that monkey off his back, which is a huge thing for them and that organization and that team to move forward. That confidence is high. There's no question about that. Great run game. They got to get the pass game going, but they got a great run game. There's no question there. I'll say this much, boy. Watching that Alabama game going to 4 OTs, I was just like, holy
shit.
But you know what? Again, too, is it just boggles the mind of how some of these refs are playing too out there. You know what I mean? A lot of blown calls on certain things all across college football to the NFL to everything like that. We're seeing that happen. It's a chain reaction, but there's no accountability, which I think is going to cost, especially as we start getting down to the nitty gritty like this for placings. I mean, I still think Georgia's number 1 up there. They're going to be number 1 and they're solidifying themselves. We'll see when they play Alabama. But I do hope that we get better officiating as we start moving forward in this because it's needed.
Well, I'll tell you something. Alabama did not look good in that game. They're going to have to play a lot better in order to beat Georgia. I mean, they're going to have to play a lot better than that, and that's going to knock out. I think that's a game where Alabama could be knocked right out. Yeah. Saban puts his team in a good position every year, no doubt. But I just I agree with you that I think Georgia's up there, but. I hope that we can see a Michigan-Georgia game down the road because that would be a very interesting matchup between those 2 teams for a national championship.
I do too. I think committee-wise and stuff, it definitely is eye-peeling in which you could look and say, listen, Alabama has not even played close to where they used to be a few years ago. You know what I mean? And stuff. Right. Michigan has been this up-and-coming team. I think they deserve that opportunity and that shot, the way that they've played and have won in a style that's also not close going into overtime and stuff like that, because especially against a very weak team. Okay, you don't go into 4 overtimes playing against a weak team when your quarterback couldn't even throw for over 200 yards himself. You know what I mean? So you're right. I think Georgia, Michigan makes better sense. Alabama is just Alabama by name, and that's all it comes down to. But they don't deserve where they go and things. And I think Georgia's going to solidify this by beating Alabama on the weekend.
And of course, last night you had some bedlam in Bedlam, obviously, with Oklahoma, with Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and that was a very interesting game going back and forth right there, and finally Oklahoma State, put them away there and was able to get the win there over a game Oklahoma team, and you kind of feel for Oklahoma a little bit because look. There were some muff punts. There were some turnovers there that kind of got away from both teams. There was some sloppy play, I thought, on both sides of the ball there in that game. That's what you expect out of those two. But at the end of the day, hey, look, he took him down there. He had a shot there on that last drive to break the hearts right there of Oklahoma State. And he just couldn't get in the end zone there with about 20, 25 seconds of play. Just couldn't make the pass to get get his team into the end zone and get the win and steal a win there from Oklahoma State and put them in the Big 12 championship game. So as it stands now, Oklahoma State moves on, and now you wonder, what they're going to do. And look, do I think that what this is all leading to down the road in college football is expanded playoffs? I think you're going to see it. I think we're coming down to that. I think in the next couple of years we're going to see the expanded playoffs. I think it's something that's been brewing, and I think we're going to expand the playoff field for 4 teams, possibly to 8, maybe even 9 teams there. Get a good field there of teams there, because there are some teams, obviously Notre Dame and some other teams there that could find their way in there and could make for very interesting playoffs. If we had some of these other teams involved and not just the 4 teams. So I definitely think that down the road we're going to get into this expanded field there, Shane.
Oh, I do too, and I hope so. And you know what? I'll give Cincinnati a big credit too this year. I think Cincinnati has played phenomenal. And I tell you what, being in Cincinnati with the Bengals playing, you know what I mean, and this college team playing, I mean that's a rocking city right now, because like I said, they haven't had this in quite some time. So I mean, kudos to them. Good coaching, good everything, good athletes out there and stuff. But I do agree that I think we need to expand this and get some of those teams, like you said, a Notre Dame, Baylor, teams like that have come close and should be in there too. In some way. So I think that's on the horizon. And it's money. It's all about money. And that's a lot of money that they can generate for the schools, for revenue, and everything like this come college time.
And Shane, before we go here, what do you make of the NHL right now when it comes down to this COVID? You have teams right now that are just been racked. Now the Islanders are obviously racked with COVID. And they're going to be out until at least Tuesday, missing some games now. So you have some issues here going on right now in the NHL here when it comes to COVID here.
Yeah, and they should have done this a long time ago when those first cases of COVID started showing up with COVID. Player safety, do your job.
Well, it's the thing too, is the organizations in the league and everything like this. But now Canada has said no athletes can come across the border unless you're fully vaccinated. You know what I mean? So now you're going to get some players from the NHL and stuff that may not be, that may only have 1 dose or something like that. I don't know, you know what I mean? But that's going to cause some problems about rostering when it comes to players coming to play. Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Montreal. Yeah. So that's a lot of teams and a lot of scheduling conflicts that could happen for some teams in this way. But like you said, when it comes to the COVID, we had it up here too with some of our players that had to be stuck in Minnesota that couldn't come across the border because they got COVID in LA. You know what I mean? So 2-week quarantines and all this stuff like that. This is just a start. This is the problem. This is just going to be the start of this, and there's going to be a lot more that are going to be happening. And I got a feeling that the NHL season may extend a little bit longer, but I think they're going to have a problem come January when it comes to coming up here. You're going to see some different players on some teams because our players not able to come because they are not vaccinated due to whichever way they wish to go. Even coaches too.
And are you surprised by the New York Rangers right now and how well that they've been playing, my boys over there in New York, how well that they've gotten going so far and the wins they put on the board?
Hey, it's nice that they're throwing the gloves at Boston, eh? You know what I mean? Good old Panarin, right? Right? That's the way it should be. Good old Marsh. Give them out of there and stuff. No, you know what? They're playing with. There was, I think it was a week ago or so when coach and them had a little conversation and saying, "Listen, we won, but you got to quit complaining." And I think that's what it comes down to: is quit complaining, do your job, and play aggressive out there, and let's play. And that's what they seem to be doing right now. So I think, like I said, they keep playing that type of style, they're going to do all right. But I like to see that little spark in them. I think that's what's needed. And I think it's put other teams on notice, especially Boston, who are pesky and everything like that, saying, "Hey, look at, you know what? They're here to play. They're here to win. We got to up our game." And give Ovechkin a little bit of credit too, getting his hat trick the other night too, right? You know what I mean? I mean, geez Louise, that guy was just on fire out there with everything he was doing.
I'm just saying, the Panthers, though, Shane? The Panther? I mean,
wow.
Really? The Panthers.
I know.
Panthers, man.
But it's gonna, you know what? It's going to be an interesting. I'm going to say this: is that come January, I think it's going to be very interesting in the NHL of what's going to happen when it comes to crossing the border, as well as higher intakes also of COVID cases on some teams and things like that too, just because of flu season, cold season, everything like this as well that we're heading into in some of those cities.
And keep trying to find a goalie, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, the Flyers right now, similar to the 76ers. I mean, their power play is just atrocious right now. It's just garbage. Not much going.
We'll get you a
right
towel, Jay. We're going to get you a towel. You could put the tears in the towel. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, it's stinking bad, buddy.
It is. Flyers 3-5-2 in the last 10. I mean, it's just looking right now really bad for the Philadelphia Flyers. They can't score a goal to save their life. I mean, it's just looking really bad for the Flyers right now. Yeah. It really is.
They can't score a goal and they can't stop a goal.
Exactly. As well as the goalies may play on a given night, I mean, they're just not able to score, and when you can't score, you're not going to win many games.
How much of a shakeup do we see coming? How much of a shakeup do you think we see coming, say with, January? Let's cap it up there into January time. Do we start seeing a shakeup in that organization?
Unless they can unless the coach and the team starts playing a lot better.
Well, let's say they stay on the same path right now. Let's say that they're just
I can see a bit of a shakeup coming because the Flyers had some playoff aspirations coming. We're not talking Stanley Cup, but they were talking about with the acquisitions that they made in the offseason, talking about maybe getting into the playoffs. Who knows how much damage they would have done, at that point. But they were talking about, seeing some playoff action. And unless they start playing a heck of a lot better, I could see some shakeups coming. Absolutely.
You're 24th out of 32 right now.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No, not good at all. Not good at all. And they're, just looking at the Eastern Conference, the Flyers are 12 at 8-7-4 right now. That's not a good situation to be in. And I know they've had to overcome, lackluster play and some injuries, but they still got to be playing better. You still got to get more out of, guys that are on the ice, especially with the power play. And, unless they start playing better, I mean, it's just not looking good for the Fly guys right now.
You're on a 5-game losing streak? A 5-game losing streak?
Well, right now they've lost one, but they're 3-5-2 in their last 10. Which isn't good.
Lord.
That's
not good.
No,
that's not good, Jay.
No, not at all. And they're having trouble. Their power play is garbage. I mean, they're just having trouble scoring getting any type of offense. Even strength, shorthand. I mean, power play, you name it. I mean, they're just having trouble scoring any type of goals. And when you're 500 at home, 4-4-2, that's not good. I mean, they're just struggling mightily. I mean, even if the goalie allows 1 or 2 goals, they're not scoring any, so they end up getting shut out. It's just a bad situation right now in the Flyers. They got to get more out of their players. The players have to play better. They have to get some guys back healthy and back into the lineup. And
I say shake it up. Shake it up.
Yeah.
Haul them out, bring it in, and just write this season off to a certain degree. Do what you can. Heck, you might be like a St. Louis Blues team, how they played and won a Stanley Cup about 5 years ago there when they did that and said, hey, we suck right now, but guess what? Let's just go out there and play and see what we can do. But you gotta shake up that team is what they need to do.
Oh, no doubt about it. Something needs to be done because you can't go on playing the way the Flyers have been playing and not scoring goals and depending on your goalie to get a shutout just about every game. You can't go into games like that. You just can't. Nope. That's not a winning formula. and the power play has to improve dramatically. However the Flyers need to do that, the power play has to improve. No doubt about it. So
Gentlemen,
guys,
it has been a slice.
yeah, it has been. Shane, can you let everybody know how they can find you on your social media sites?
Yeah, you can reach me at mentaledgeperformance.ca or mental_edge_performance. Looking forward to the games this weekend, boys. It's going to be exciting. We got to watch them 49ers.
And Eagles, Mike.
49ers.
And Eagles, Mike.
Oh.
So, Mike, any NASCAR news this week?
Actually, no, not really.
Okay. All right. So we're
in the off season, so not much NASCAR news until around early February.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Reminder to check out sportsskilletradio.com. We have our Twitter feed going. Reminder, if you're listening, you're watching the show, comment on our social media sites. Be heard. We want to hear from you during the show. We will comment on your comments. Absolutely. Feel free to leave us a comment on our social media sites, sportsskilletradio.com. Great articles from Mike, as well as our Twitter feed, social media sites we got up. So all you have to do is do a search for Sports Skillet. We pop up there. Check out the Heat Ratio. We got great shows there as well. And thank you for the Heat Ratio for hosting us as well. Guys, it has been a great week. As Shane said, enjoy the games this week, and we will see everybody back again right here again next week.